بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. It is my pleasure to be here today in this scientific day in a cooperation between English University or British University and Islam University. And this a good cooperation, especially in the therapeutic science and in the developing of scientific knowledge in comparison to what we have in Egypt and what they have back there. And I think this kind of movement or this kind of agreement between us is going to be helpful to our students and also helpful to the people in England to know what we are doing, and we would like to know what they are doing. And I was really having big talks with Professor Dr. Helen, and we really get a common interest in some of the stuff, what we can do together, how they can bring some expertise to us, and how we can really help them to know what we have. And I think we have a lot to give them and to give the other people in the world. So please be sure that you will gain a lot from this, and this will help you in your future to gain more and more and more. I would like to thank you all and hope this will be a good event for all of us. Thank you.
First of all, I first to thank my Professor Dr. Abdel Fattah Sadaka, President of Al-Salam University, and Professor Dr. Mohsen Sayad, my Professor Doctor of Physical Therapy, Cairo University, and Scientific Research Consultant for Al-Salam University. Thank you for your participation in our scientific day for Basic Science Department in our faculty at Salam University under the title of Integration of Therapeutic Exercise with Rehabilitation Technology and Different Clinical Conditions. Actually, this day not for academic lecture only, but for illustrate the opportunity for collaboration in many scientific day, another scientific day or scientific research, as well as undergraduate collaboration in many types or in many versions. We have a lot of laboratory for studying for undergraduate. We also need to use it in research in collaboration with Exeter University. So I am pleased. Need your support to advance physical therapy research in our faculty. So you are welcome, and thank you for your participation in our scientific day. Thank you again.
الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. المنصة الكريمة الأستاذ الدكتور أحمد العريان عميد الكلية، وأستاذنا الغالي الأستاذ الدكتور محسن الصياد أستاذ الفيزيكال ثيرابي في جامعة القاهرة وفي United States. Our guest, honorable guest, Professor Dr. Helen Dawes from Exeter University in UK, and أهلا وسهلا my colleagues, my students. It's very nice to meet you always in these scientific days, which makes close cooperation between different minds of us, especially when we have a decane in our university. Also, in this second scientific day for the basic science in our university, with integration of therapeutic exercise with rehabilitation technology in different clinical conditions, I think it throws a new era of cooperation regarding this point. I hope your cooperation with us. I hope we have a nucleus for development, education, improvement of education. Of course, any cooperation on the scientific basis will be beneficial for both parties, of course. but I think you will have a lot. Especially you can have another window for educating these postgraduate students. And also we can, I think that there is no difference, big difference between the post and under. Usually it's not separate, it's continuation of education. So if you can consider taking care of our undergraduates regarding directioning, give some direction for how we can implement or to be more clinically oriented, problem-solving education. From this point, I feel we can cooperate more and more. Many thanks for you and all of you for this scientific cooperation, and I'm supporting you fully regarding this point. Thank you.
It's a great honor to speak to you today. Thank you so much for your kind invitation. So I'm going to first of all introduce myself, and then I'm going to walk through some technologies and exercise that you could maybe consider using in your clinics. Yeah, so that's our plan, and also discuss some of the challenges around implementing these technologies. Okay, can everybody understand my speaking? Yes. Okay. Okay, so first of all, my background is I'm a physiotherapist. Yeah, I'm very interested in movement and mobility as part of the rehabilitation. And you see the yellow blab we have there. I lead the we have a National Institute of Health Research in the UK, similar to the United States, and I lead the rehabilitation themes for both the Biomedical Research Centre and the Health Technology Research Centre. And I'm based down in the lower part of the United Kingdom, and we have 14 centres around the UK. So that's a little bit about my day job. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about some of the challenges for innovation and technology in the context of mobility, and this might be a condition, accident, or for all of us, aging. Yeah, at some point you will get older and have a problem. In certain parts of the world, in the EU, they consider mobility as a human right. Okay, so the problem is, as we know, if you don't move, you get in a circle of less movement, more inactivity, weakness, stiffness, you get worse and worse. So there's a critical need to improve. Walking is one of the key areas to consider, and I'll use that as a lens for us to think about other areas. So if we think about mobility, we need to think about the critical function of mobility. So it's for a person to move fast enough. Yeah, if you're slow, it becomes more difficult to move. So the critical factor is to move fast enough, but it needs to be efficient as well. If it's an inefficient style of movement, it uses too much energy and you cease moving. So you see that this happens with all of our patient groups. We also need to think it needs to be safe. If you're likely to fall over, you stop moving. So these are all areas to think about. We also know from different areas of research that if you start to move in a different way, it's not only physically harder, it's cognitively harder as well. And we see this in a patient's ability to do two things at once when they have movement impairment. It is harder for them to do that. And it's something that we need to think about as we are doing our prescription. Here I don't have the data for your country, but I have the data for the UK, in that of the UK, for older people, a third of older people have a problem with their walking. Yeah, so it's anyone over the age of 65, a third of those people will have a problem. So this highlights the importance of yourselves. Yeah, we need physical therapy. to help improve. Many people fall. I'll talk about falling. And also many people have a disability as well that requiring therapy. In the UK, we have a national healthcare system, and this is expensive. Yeah, so we have to think about the expense this causes. So hence our government are keen to push in money to physical therapy and exercise to improve this problem. So if we take it the other way, we know that mobility is important, but we also know that mobility and exercise are really important for both our mind and our body, and they affect the different systems: cardiovascular, respiratory, neuromuscular, and metabolic. So that we know that this is very important, but we also know that people with conditions find it harder to exercise. These are the systems that are involved in movement. Basically, everything is involved in movement. So your cardiovascular, respiratory system, but also your sensory motor system. So we know that your hearing, your eyes, your vestibular, your cognition, different areas of your cortex cerebellum are all involved in moving, your proprioception, and that this is a cycle also being impacted by your mood, anxiety, depression, pain, fatigue. Okay, so how we move. So we know that movement, here we go, is controlled by the systems: neurological, neuromuscular, metabolic, cardiovascular. And we know that it also is harder to move when we're moving in a complex environment. So many of our patients will say it's easy to move when we're walking in a straight place, but if we have to go shopping, if we have to move in the playground at school, it is much harder. So that we have to think about this context as well. These are the systems involved in moving. This is an early experiment, some of our work when we were doing, when I was based in Oxford, doing brain imaging. This machine here is a near infrared. It's one of the early systems, and you can see it's very old-fashioned, but it reminds me of the work that we did 20 years ago. But in that area, we started to look at different control mechanisms of movement. And it's, as you know, a hierarchical system. It's parallel processing, feed forward, feedback between the systems. We also know, I trained a long time ago, and when I trained, it was a very simple system. Yeah, there was the different areas of the brain that controlled different areas. Dorsolateral prefrontal cortex did this. Motor cortex did that. Now we know this is not true. We know it's very, very complicated. Yeah, and so we do need, within our research, to explore mechanisms. It's very important. So I think maybe I'll introduce some of our functional technologies, but I think Dr. Hatton will perhaps show some of the other technologies that we are now using for EMG. So this is just an example, some of the work with aging and the sorts of things that physiotherapists and patients are interested in. So when you're moving, it's hard to stand up tall. It's hard to move in the correct way. But we can measure this, and we can measure this in many different ways. So we can start to look at how a person moves, not just counting steps or counting the amount of movement. We can start to look, thinking of the diagram of the different systems, we can start to look at how it is controlled. So there are many, many technologies out there. How many of you have watches? Fitbits or smart Apple Watch, or yeah? Do people use these watches to see where the steps? Yeah? Many patients do these days. We did a review of the literature for gait monitoring systems. So this is just a word of caution. And we did that in 23, it's just published. And we found that technologies on the market for assessing gait, only 4 scientific papers for these. So it was very you have to be very careful that the technologies that you're using have been validated. I had an interesting discussions with this morning with a professor that around you have to make sure your technologies are valid. They are fit for the purpose of what you aim to do. Are they accurate enough for your system? Are they reliable? Are they reliable over different days? So there's a number of technologies out there, and we need to consider them both for measurement and intervention. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about exercise measures, and then we'll talk a bit about different interventions. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. Okay, so this is just for those of you who've heard me talk before. We need to think about methods. Okay, so as physiotherapists, we need scientific methods for validating our technologies. Out there, I'll show you an inertial measurement unit. You basically, for any sensor, you take the data from the sensor, the raw signal, yeah? And then we usually turn that into something, some kind of metric that's useful for you to take. Now, if that measure is valid and accurate, we can make it into a digital clinical outcome assessment. And this is an objective way of measuring. If it predicts either disease, mortality, or change in condition, it becomes a biomarker. Now, there's a process for making sure that measures do all of this. And so this is something that we can do in our laboratories. Let's see if the videos work. Yeah. So this is where we take new technologies, and we have a nice laboratory facility. You can see here we have a camera system, 40 cameras around the walls. The whole floor has force plates in it. So we have 9 force plates. It's 4 meters by 4 meters. And we can perform any activities. We can put treadmills on. And this is where we take new technology and we make it better. And we do it in a very controlled environment. We bring patients in once it's working in humans, and then we start to test it on patients. And we will test it to make sure it's accurate. So we might bring in 30 people so that we get the statistical appropriate power for normality, and we will check its distribution, and we'll check validity. And then we start to move to getting bigger samples. And this is the sort of data we might get. So I'm sure you can spot what type of patient that is. What's wrong with the patient? Yeah, yeah. So, and this is another patient. So you can see in this context that the patient is moving, yeah, and that we are collecting data from the force plate, from the cameras, and importantly, we have been validating it's the camera system, if you were there this morning, that we were showing in the clinic, that measures just using a simple camera in a smartphone or in a laptop. So we do this work in our laboratory. This lady is also wearing, she can, I think, a near infrared spectroscopy, and she also has EMG on her. So we can do all the validation in a really tightly controlled way. It's a nice facility. Patients can come in and they have nice disability access, and it's a quick, easy way for us to validate our technologies. This is another sensor that we have validated to measure. We always work with engineers. So this is a sensor that measures in your shoe. This is the sensor that now has come out from that picture of the man with the big backpack on, and it measures shear, pressure, and temperature at the same time. So this we are looking at because it might be useful for patients with diabetes and diabetic foot ulcer. So it can detect pressure and shear. Now, research that we have done here has shown us that people with diabetes have an altered shear to temperature relationship compared to normals. This is just being published. This is important mechanistic data because it might tell us why they get ulcers in their feet. There's another system here. I'll just briefly show you. We made a walking frame that's easier to use with bigger wheels, and it's better balanced for patients to use, and it has a handle to push up. So in all of these instances, we'll typically either work with engineers, scientific people, ourselves, the physiotherapists, and we might work with a company, as in this case for the device, because they asked us to make the device better. Here now, you can see this is the camera system being validated, and that's me, I think. Yep, that's me performing different activities. So we might use the system to measure lots of different things, and then we check how fit for purpose and what can we use the system for, yeah? And then we'll bring in patients. So you can see the sort of process for the systems that we use. This system here is, we use the simple LiDAR on the phone. So in the UK, patients are in hospital and we have to send them home, and we want to know what the home environment is like. So it maps the home, yes, without going there. Somebody has to just use the phone. So these are all research tools because I'm a researcher. So then we check the accuracy, the validity. That's about to be published. It's not out yet. So you can see this is the sort of work we do. Yeah. So I think we need to think about, what we want to measure, and this is something that you decide. What's important? What are the parameters? Yeah. We can measure just performance, how many, how hard, how long, all of these, how frequently, this we can measure, but we can also start to think about the control system. Yeah, so some of you probably are cardiovascular, you might be looking at heart rate or metabolism, or you might be looking at the neuromuscular system with EMG. So there's lots of exciting developments that are happening that we need to check and use within our clinical practice. And we want to bring these technologies now forward so that we can monitor patients, say, at home, or even monitor their progress in the clinic. Other areas that we're quite interested in is interoception, which is, if you like, your processing of information. And this is an area, so for fatigue, often people who, when they have a condition, they find it difficult to monitor their fatigability. And we're quite interested in why this is and doing some research in this space. Okay, so this is the sort of sensors we use. I personally am interested in sensing technology that is sustainable and affordable. So I take expensive laboratories and I try to validate affordable sensors, whatever they are. That's my personal interest. Other people in our researching team do other things, but I'm interested in this. We have also been looking at robots. I work with a colleague, a simple robot for stroke use at home, all sorts of technologies. I can't show you them all today. It's a big team. Okay, so this is this is the next technology that I'm going to show you because I think it's interesting, and there's a number of publications for physiotherapy. So it's just a simple inertial measurement unit. So it has 3 axes, as you know, and gyroscopes and a magnetometer. And you can use this. I did the some early work on this using it on the back, and we developed some patents for this, and also we've been using it. And now we're using it in the shoe. And these are very cheap. You can make, if you're an engineer, you can make an inertial measurement unit. So these are something that we can roll out. So then what we did was have a look at the gait pattern. So this is at the bottom. So for those of you who know the top gait pattern, you'll be used to creating a measure of kinetic and potential energy and looking at that. So here we are using a very simple technique on the bottom graph, and this shows you heel strike. Okay, so the blue is the heel strike, pink is the push off. So you get heel strike, You get the foot moving along the ground. This is measuring angular velocity of the gyroscope in the sagittal plane. Then this here measures the swing phase of this, of the foot, and then down again. So you get a pattern, and we have measured lots of people, hundreds of people, and measured these in different conditions. So this is the sort of pattern that you get for like an ECG, So it's like a gait ECG.
Excuse me. From gait race, you can the right balance and the power.
Yes.
Power of free strike.
Push off. Yeah. So you can take the raw data and create metrics and measures.
Balance, what's the meaning of point balance? 100, 200, 300. What's the meaning of points?
Oh, the scales here. It's angular velocity. It's the raw data. That's the data, not a metric. Yeah.
And y-axis,
that's just over time, and it's sampling at. I think it's sampling at 100 hertz. This sensor. Yeah.
So what's called this device?
It's called the heel to toe. I can show you after. Yeah, heel to toe. Heel to toe. Here, you'll see in a minute. So here, this is how the metrics are made. Yeah. So this, if anyone's interested, I can show you more detail later if it's interesting. So it's an affordable device. It's just an IMU, and then this is the gait analytics. So we know from research, not just our own but others, that if this comes down below 400, you're likely to trip with your feet. So it's a nice indicator of trips. So we know that's not the only cause of falls. And then this is the heel strike. So we can see how well people heel strike. And we know this is part of the pattern, the gait pattern. And it's on the your spinal reflex, your central pattern generator. So we know it's important, and you can get this. There'll be time in the air. So from this we can create measures, Now how we created those measures, because this is probably important, is that we would talk to physiotherapists, and we asked the physiotherapists, we did a survey internationally and asked physiotherapists what they would like to measure. And they told us, as you can imagine, what they want to measure. Now, we can't measure everything with a sensor on the shoe. So there might be other measures that we might need to look at a different way. But this is what we did. So for validation, like for your drug association, to get it validated as a medical device, so you need to first of all show accuracy, but then you need to show that the measure is associated with other things, like a 6-minute walk or another measure of importance.
As an integration.
Pardon?
As an integration with the 6 walking.
Yes, you can do that. Yeah, I can show you. So and that it can differentiate across different groups. So here you see we've looked at good walkers, fallers, and we've taken these measures: heel strike, push off, and swing phases. So there's different things that we can pull out, and so we've measured lots of different people. This is the visual, so you remember the gaits, right? So you can see a good senior, the older person, senior. So it should be there, so they're quite good. You can see that looks like the ECG I showed you, That's not such a good gait, they're wobbling, And this is someone with dementia. They're not really moving. You can see, because a long time, lots of data before they take the next step. Barely moving, So there's many different things that we can get to measure. So that's just to give you some examples. We have other conditions that we've got data on. So this is now using the camera system that we were using in the clinic this morning. So this, again, sorts of things, what we need to do, and I really feel this very strongly, is as you're a physiotherapist, you're very well trained, you have a lot of background, understanding and knowledge. You need to be driving the technologies. They need to be technologies you want, You probably see many companies come and try and give you technologies, but but the technologies you need to input into. So again, for this system, we went and we do some biomechanics. We know what we're looking for, say sit to stand this activity, but we might look at gait. But we went and asked physiotherapists what they want. So we said, what do you want to see? What do you want to measure? We then asked patient groups. So this is just some mechanics of us breaking down the movement. So we do the biomechanics work, but this is when we asked the physiotherapists. Yeah, we did an international survey and asked what they want. What do you measure? What do you want to see? So you can see some different measures on there. So when so STS is sit to stand. Yeah. So you can see physiotherapists told us they look at the base of support. Yeah. They want to measure the base of support. Is the trunk leaning or not? Yeah. This is what they told us. So this is important work because there's no point me creating a measure that you don't want. Yeah. What's the point of that? We also need to check that the patients want the measure. So we went and talked to patients. Here, for this particular technology, we were interested in measuring people at home, older people at home at this time. And so we wanted to make sure that older people would be measured. And of course they said, no, we don't want, we might not want you to put an insole in my shoes. I don't wear shoes in the house. So we have to listen to what can work for the patient. Yeah, there's no point creating a clever measure that they can't use. And we created personas of people. So they're made up names, but Julia, you can probably all recognize someone like this in your family, was independent. Yeah, the independent older person. They want to do it themselves. So we had Patrick, made up name, was he was dependent. He liked people to help him. So you'll all relate to this, either an aunt or a father or and then we had Christine, and she lived on her own. And she was lonely, so she needed more social support. So the point around this is that you need to understand your stakeholders to know what they want. So then we moved to creating a technology. So this is technology that I showed you. You can use it to measure the arm. We're using it to measure the knee after knee replacement. So there's many different applications for using these technologies for. I'll show you another example. This is measuring someone walking and gait analysis. And then another application, they want to know if someone's fallen over. So we can use this camera system. There's other ways to measure this. This is just one example of use. Okay, so this is the gait system during a timed up and go. So you can see here, again, we're validating the system. So this is someone with Parkinson's who's moving. And we're looking for those things that we said we look for. Are their feet wide enough apart? Are their arms swinging? How do they sit down? Do they sit down in one go? Yeah, sit down. Or do they, all these things that you look for. So this is some validation. This is me. My posture, so we have a system for whether people lean or don't lean at work. Look at you all now. You're all sitting terribly, yeah? You should be sitting in a better way. Okay, so then hopefully this gives you an idea of the measurement, and this concludes the first part. So I was going to talk about, so we'll now switch it up and talk about some of the rehabilitation intervention technologies. So you know what rehabilitation is. It's the process by which someone with a disability, injury, or illness is helped to acquire either the knowledge or the skills to maximize their physical, psychological, and social function. There's other definitions. I use this one because it's close to the person who supervised my PhD. So these are the sorts of things that you will be doing in your rehabilitation, making the performance and functioning. You also build resilience in their system. You are thinking about their health and well-being, how they feel, their life quality, of the impact of their condition. Maybe you're helping them manage their symptoms. If they have pain or fatigue, you help manage that within it, or some of the other symptoms that they might have. and then optimizing life quality. And then you know this, so I think you would all agree that we use a biopsychosocial model here, yeah? That you don't just consider the biology, but the team, but the whole person, and that you think about working across teams when you need it, and that you need to measure and be precise with your intervention. I like to borrow from the fitness world when I think about exercise prescription, because I think it's important that we think about the dose, and we think about the different components: balance, coordination, flexibility, speed, endurance, and strength. So if we take this into the walking world, what does good walking look like? So what do you look for when you're looking for walking?
Balance, bad postures.
Yeah, balance, posture. What's the very first thing you probably look at? You notice someone comes in the clinic. What's the very first thing you probably see?
Gates.
Yeah, speed. Yeah. So here we see that, speed is important. And we know if you walk under 0.4 meters per second, you probably can't go outside, because that's very slow. And that's 1.4, this is this speed, yeah, that's 1.4 meters per second. So we know, and we see that as clinical clinicians experienced, yeah. But you might want to measure that, yeah, and you might want to prescribe to make them walk faster. So you can, gait speed's quite hard to measure, particularly in the field. So sometimes it's easier to we know, those of you with biomechanics, you're training, you'll know there's a relationship between cadence, steps per minute, and walking speed. Cadence is easier to measure, so you can measure cadence. You can use simple technologies for cadence. Every phone has a metronome, yeah? So you can send your patients off and you can find out what their cadence is, and then you can make it a bit harder. So you can use, if you want to increase speed, you can do that. Which is fine. This is the different cadences. This is the different, that relate to the different walking speeds. And again, we have a program. Yeah?
Why are we going to use metronome? Is for making it, I don't know, in a good speed?
Yeah. So you can use the metronome. So at the different cadence. So we know that if you're walking, 60 per minute is slightly slow for a person. Yeah. 100 per minute is a reasonable walking speed.
Harmonized speed.
Pardon?
Harmonized speed.
You can use it to prescribe speed remotely. You can use, because it's important to work on walking speed, because it's a function. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the things that you need to think about in your prescription is how fast. People want to walk fast, yeah? It's one thing they need, yeah. So you can use these different metronomes. You can give that to your patient, or you can do it in the clinic. You can train with the metronome. I can show you. We know that it's not just about speed. It's about the quality of the movement.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, the pattern, the balance, the mechanics. And so, this is from a walking workshop that we did recently. We know how to walk well. And this came from physiotherapists. This was from an international survey. They ranked, we did a Delphi, for those of you who do research, and we started off with an expert panel, then we got a bigger panel, and then we got people to rank. And these were the top items to rank. And then we decided that these should be measured. So that's how we came up with this. So then, this is probably you on the left-hand side. You know what you say to your patients, there'll be things you say. Get your heel down, get your heel down, yeah? So, or you might, another one here, or swing your arms. So here is, show the soles of your feet. You can say this to patients. You want to see the sole, the underbit of your shoe, at the front and the back, yeah? Then you're walking properly. There's simple techniques that you might use. And these are all around. There'll be other things, but these are just some simple ones. Do you walk from the hip? Your foot, when you walk, it walks from the hip. You don't walk from the foot. You don't walk like this. the simple techniques for gait training that you do. You might want to stand up, yeah. And you can work then on the posture. By a wall, and you walk away, nice posture. There's lots of then exercises you can bring to all of this. So this comes back to, you can measure this, as we said, some aspects of this, and you can then feed back to the patient if you want, for some of these things. So this is, I can share this slide, so this, heel first, push off, hip, arm swing, don't look at your feet, yeah, all of these things. So this is some of the exercises then you would need to go alongside that, work on the mobility and strength and posture. So this is some work that we've been doing with older people as around training at home. So this is a sensor technology that we have that we used for at home. This is the heel to toe sensor in feedback mode. So this now has some AI in it. So it can feed back. We've set it up first for heel strike. So it measures the heel strike. It can then detect which leg it's on, and it can detect whether the person is walking, how they're walking, and it can just make it a little harder for them.
Could I take a picture?
Yeah, of course. I can send you off to the website. It's fine.
Okay, thank you.
So this is the dashboard. So you can look at a dashboard and see how the person is walking. So as clinicians, you can have a look at this. Or if you think they can, the patients could look at their own data and see if they're doing. My experience with patients is they prefer the physiotherapist to tell them. They don't like to, and this is generally patients. Maybe in the future they will like to just do it themselves, but most people don't have the understanding and literacy, and they want support. So this is the sensor in action, or not? Sorry, the sensor, that's not working, that video. That's just a video of it beeping. So how it works is it beeps when you do something good. It's a positive reward system. So these are sensors. This is for walking, but you could use it as feedback using it on the arm, or you could use it for using another system like a camera system. So this is these are research tools.
I can use it as a researcher,
Yeah.
or I could use it as a rehabilitation.
Yeah, you could use it as both. Yeah. So that sensor has come through approvals. It's not approved in your country yet because I'm here today. So you would, I'm a researcher. We have in the research we put it started on 2 legs initially, and it blew their mind. It was too hard. So we used it on 1 leg, but some patients I know used it on 2. But this is research to be done. So the work we've done is on 1 leg, and we've so far used trials with papers for Parkinson's, for older people, for MS, I think for arthritis or knees. So it's coming. It takes time to do this work. Velocity at the moment. This is all research to be done. I don't know the correct way yet because I haven't done. We have validated. We've used it in a fixed way. I'm not sure the best approach. Yeah. So, but you can have it fixed or you can have it. AI. So this is now another system. This is that I think Dr. Hatton will talk about next. And this is a system whereby it's a simple camera for games. So this is where the gaming, you're an avatar, you use a camera system, and you move balls. And there's a number of different games you could use to play. So it could be a game for the ball's hand coming down and you have to hit them, or it could be jumping, or it could be sitting just using one arm. So there's different games. Again, much of this is used in research. Spot our anonymous model here. So this is simple camera system, and you can see the system in use, yeah? And then the system throwing the balls in the net. But the system, again, you can either have it fixed or you can have it AI. It's all up, this is research. This is a patient using the system. And we were using it downstairs with one of your patients. Okay. Now the good thing about this, this is Carlos Monteira. He lives in Brazil, São Paulo University, and he's playing the game. Him and his team who are creating the games over the last 10 years, and who we work with. So they're fantastic. So the nice thing about this, so this is AI driven. So it can get easier or harder, but I think you can change the game. So don't be restricted by what you see. You can make it fun or boring, and you can make it as long as you want. So we've just been using that game in hockey players, ice hockey players who have concussion, to look at their recovery after concussion. So you can get different pictures from this, from the data. So you can see how the left hand is behaving, the right hand. You can get reaction time and movement time, and you can see if they're different or the same. So the useful bit about this here is this is cheap, it's affordable. They can do it at home. You can do it in the clinic, or you can say, right, every day 5 minutes of exercises, and you can see if they do it. Yeah. And then the patients will know that you can see if they're doing it or not. So this is quite nice, I think. We need to think how we want to use these tools, but we cannot, I don't think they're replacing physiotherapy. They're tools to motivate, yeah, and measure at the same time, which patients like. So when we've interviewed patients, they say they want some feedback. They want to know how they're getting on, yeah. So this is quite nice. You can use this. So these are just some of the publications that we have used, and this is just the heel to toe with the video isn't working. This is just the impact of the heel to toe. So this is in Parkinson's disease. So it's not a cueing device. It's a reward. It's motor learning theories, and also when we're using this, we need to bring in your theories of motor learning. So you don't always tell the patient the truth. You sometimes, when they've done something good, you don't say it's good. It's a bit like you as physiotherapists. You don't always exactly tell them how they're doing. Sometimes you motivate when they're not quite good, and sometimes you try and motivate by saying they can do better. So we use the same systems in the AI, because otherwise people get bored if it's very the same. Yeah. This is interesting. I don't know why this worked. This is a severe dementia patient. So they had no cognition, and they used the heel to toe. So we have a dementia trial. But I'm just fascinated. I don't know why, but this is them. They had no cognition. They couldn't hear it, but it's improving their walking. So this is interesting and needs some research. And it also seemed to help their cognition as well. So they could see, they seemed to be more motivated. And we're noticing, like they noticed a dog and a flower. This is the kind of dashboard you can use. And I'll show you one more technology that's well away from the clinic. So this is the guy on the treadmill. So this here, so I don't know if you treat diabetes patients much. Do you have diabetes or other?
They have other conditions related to diabetes.
Yeah. So this system here is measuring in the shoe, but it's also the backpack has an air in it, and so if it detects a hot area in the foot, it pumps air around it to take the pressure off that area. So obviously this is not ready for your clinics, but this is the start of a validation. So we've started to see if we can put actively, so instead of giving a passive prosthetic, we can change it as they're moving along to seeing how they're going. And this has application in other areas, maybe hallux, valgus, I don't know. There might be some other applications. Okay, right, I've talked a lot.
Hey, we have lunch.
So I
We are
think
pleased to have you today.
that's a great pleasure. So I've just shown you some things. I haven't shown you the methods because there's a lot of work that goes into the validation. So these, we don't just use them, we try to validate them, as you know. So, but thank you very much. And yeah, are there any questions? And obviously the important for me to say, I don't do this work on my own. I work with a big team of researchers. And also I'm funded by a number of funders. I'm linking the slides at the end. So has anyone got any questions?
Yes, excuse me. Can you explain the last slide, how it prevented the ulcer?
Pardon?
The device, how it prevented the ulcer formation and diabetic patient?
How's the device?
Prevent the ulcer formation
Oh, yeah.
in diabetes.
The special measures? What? How?
The last device that
Yes.
you made when you walking with
Yes,
the
the
light.
shoes. Yeah.
Yes, how it works,
How quick on the market?
how it works.
How does it work?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So the sensor is yeah. So temperature is a temperature sensor. Yeah. Pressure is a pressure sensor. Yeah. Shear measures. So there's 5 sensors, and it measures the perpendicular distance from the pressure, and it uses the vector and creates a shear arm.